Yes, the Archivest, y'all, interviewing Eternia, one of Canada's finest female MCs on the mic.
So
So, who is Eternia?
who is Eternia? Well, Eternia is me. I was born Silke and Kaya. I don't like there to be a divide between who I am musically and who I am not musically, like just as a human being. So, I represent Toronto. I represent Canada in general. I was born in Ottawa, currently residing in between Toronto and New York, and I rap. That simple.
And tell us about your Juno nomination for Album of the Year.
Yeah, so I put out It's Called Life on UrbanNet Records in 2005. We had like a whole bunch of video singles for that, so in Canada. And in 2006, I was nominated for the rap recording Juno category. And we were up against Classified, Kanon, I forget who else, sorry. But Kanon won. And it was a really good experience. It was dope going down there. It was in Halifax. I went with my brother on the red carpet and all that. But, you know, now that I've been there and done that, I'm not interested in going there again. It took a lot out of me. So it was an honor to be nominated. It was an honor to walk the red carpet, but to me, there are greater things than that, per se, if that makes sense.
Right, and tell us about your record deal with Fat Beats.
Yeah, so technically I've been in communication with Fat Beats Records for over 5 years, multiple A&Rs over the years, sending projects in, kind of staying in touch, so there was always a little bit of an interest there, but things just never really aligned, and they really did once me and Moss completed At Last. Moss is obviously a Canadian super producer out of Toronto, Brampton technically, shout out Brampton, and we finished an album together with no label input, At Last, and after we finished the album we started shopping. And obviously Fat Beats, people that know our sound sonically know that we suit Fat Beats. So we went and they loved what they heard and the rest is history, and it really feels good because I'm literally physically in the office, in the warehouse every week. So it's a very, familial vibe. It's not like I can't call them up and be like, it's perfect.
And how was it performing on Warped Tour, and who did you perform aside with?
Warped Tour, wow. Shout out to my brother Ollie in the house. He was on Warped Tour with me. No, I don't think he wants to be on camera, but he's over there. But yeah, Warped Tour 2005 was honestly the greatest learning experience any artist could have when it comes to learning how to tour. It is boot camp. I know grown-ass men who roll deep that can't handle Warped Tour. So it's kind of like camping for 60 days straight up. We were in the land yacht, aka the RV, and I toured with a whole bunch of cats in a hip-hop tent. Hip-hop on Warped Tour, difficult in and of itself. So it was a learning experience. I hosted the tent, which means I was in the tent 8 hours a day. So most artists were there for 30 minutes, and then they could do whatever they want. I was literally at that tent 8 hours a day, every day for 60 days. So it was a huge learning experience, and it taught me a lot when it comes to my showmanship that you see today when I perform.
And tell us about how you and Moss met up and how he became DJ Premier's sidekick.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if he'd want to be called a sidekick. Production partner. But yeah, no, me and Moss met up really naturally. So this actually goes right back to Fat Beats. Years ago when Fat Beats was talking to me about potentially signing me, this is way before Moss, they said, this is kind of funny, one of the guys that was working there was like, we really like your sound, but we want you to align yourself with certain producers in order for it to be more of a, I guess just a viable record. And they named a whole bunch of producers, and one of the producers they named was Moss. And I remember thinking to myself, I don't know this dude, and to me, it's all, music making is very personal. So you need to be able to know someone to make music with them. 2 years later, after Fat Beats was like, you should mess with Moss. And I was like, I don't know Moss. I was in Winnipeg doing a show with EMC, so Master Ace and his group. And Moss was opening for EMC as well in Winnipeg. And he saw me perform. He was a fan. He's like you. He's an archivist too. He probably has the largest Canadian hip-hop collection on the planet. Vinyl, CD, everything. Like, he is a head. He collects everything. So he already knew me, and he shook my hand. He's like, yo, I got It's Called Life. I bought it in the store. Like, you're ridiculous. And I was like really blown away because this dude's ridiculous. And then I performed, and he basically was like, I saw a whole album in my head when you rocked. So he put his money where his mouth was. He didn't just say it. We started work. That was in the summer of 2007. We started working on a record in November of 2007. So approximately 4 months later, we started working on the album. The rest is history. And
how was the feeling opening up for Mr. KRS-One, the prophet of hip-hop?
Anybody that knows me knows that I had an incident in 2008, I want to say, Canadian Music Week, pardon me, in Toronto at the Opera House, where I was supposed to open for KRS and I didn't. So it was interesting how God has it, fate, karma, whatever you want to call it, that 2 years later I'm opening up for him again. So it's almost like, I'm going to open up for you whether you want me to or not. It wasn't personal. Basically what happened in Toronto at the Opera House was that we were running late. We were running overtime. And KRS got there and he's like, I'm going on stage. And so basically myself and Mindbender, my homeboy, were not able to open. And there was mad people there to see us. It was like 500 deep in that crowd. So that was kind of sad. You know, I had the mic in my hand about to run the record and KRS walked on. Like, it was that deep. So that was kind of difficult. 2 years later, I opened for him in Brooklyn and it was beautiful. So it was kind of like resolution. You know what I mean? And we rocked it. Southpaw, beautiful venue in Brooklyn. And it was just a good night all around.
And how does it feel to carry the torch for the females leading the hip-hop scene for Canada?
I don't think about what it's like to carry the torch for female MCs in Canada until somebody asks. And that's not to say that it's not a good question. It's true. It's just, I'm just kind of one woman doing my best. I got a lot on my chest. That I mean physically, I mean from the stats. Like, you know, like, meaning I'm just a chick. I'm just a woman, whatever you want to, you know, say. Doing my music and doing my thing and living my life, but I guess the byproduct of that is there are going to be other women that are like, you know, Eternia is doing this, I can do this, and that's beautiful. So I keep that in mind, and I try my best to be a human role model. We learn from mistakes. When I fall, people can learn from that as much as when I succeed. So I guess, yeah, I don't read into it too much. One day at a time, try and do my best.
And how was it being interviewed by Loud Records and Hip Hop DX?
Yeah. Loud Records was probably, shout out to Johnny Pub, who did that, Johnny Pub. Loud Records was probably the first serious viral video interview that I had done, which actually wasn't that long ago. And so when Loud Records came out, I didn't know nothing about blogs. I was not on blogs. I didn't do video episodes myself. I didn't do the road to release, nothing like that. Loud came out and people that had no idea who I was saw me for the first time. That was beautiful. That was the beginning of 2009, I want to say. Maybe? January 2009? It's not that long ago. And then from that, the viral videos obviously have been insane, and we've been, you know, carrying the torch. But that was really dope. We ran up in Universal SRC. We were at Universal when we did that interview. It was great. Me and Chesney Snow. Shout out to the beatboxer Chesney Snow. And then Hip Hop DX was South by Southwest. I've actually been interviewed by them twice. Once by Mina, a writer, and the second time at South by Southwest video with Jake. So Hip Hop DX. This is how I'll break it down. In my mind, in the blog world, in the journalism world, there are leaders and there are followers. Leaders are people that will interview me based on the strength that they just like what I'm doing. Followers are people that will only interview me when they see big, huge cosigns, like when Primo's like, oh, she's dope, then they'll interview me. Hip Hop DX is a leader. They didn't wait for Primo to say anything or KRS or whoever you want to. They literally were like, we like what you do and we're going to interview you. And so for that, I shout out loud.com, I shout out Hip Hop DX for being leaders, not followers.
And tell us about your fashion line, My Favorite Rapper Wears a Skirt.
You know, I've never heard that be referred to as a fashion line before, but I'll take it. I got other t-shirt ideas in my head that I'm working on. But yeah, I'm not really a fashionista. I'm just like, you know, it came to me one day because somebody said it to me. They literally were like, I walked into the venue and my homeboy Suave, shout out to Suave, who's still looking for his 10%, his royalties. So I walked in the spot and Suave was like, my favorite rapper wears a skirt. And I was like, ding, 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 ding. So that's all. Like, things are very organic. How we do things on my end of the world are very organic, very natural. And so I made the shirts. I could not keep restocking them fast enough. I ran out of them, you know, quicker than I can sell them to people, or vice versa. And it's beautiful. I think that now it's like it's becoming a household slogan, which is great. And it means more than just me, by the way. Like, just to break it down, like, My Favorite Rapper Wears a Skirt is not just about Eternia. It's about challenging people's ideas of what an MC is. When people wear that shirt, especially dudes, people will walk up to them like, what your favorite rapper is a crossdresser? So even when they wear the shirt, they think that they're referring to a dude wearing a skirt. Like, that's how much our indoctrinated notions are about MCs and about hip-hop, which shows really how ignorant it is. So I wear this shirt, and other people wear this shirt as kind of a challenge to the stat quo, and it works. It spawns conversation across the board with people that are hip-hop heads and aren't, so it works.
And how is it to work with producers such as Ninth Wonder, and how did that happen to Eternia?
Yeah, that's been a long time. Me and Ninth, it's been a long time since we worked together. Maybe one day it'll happen again. We did 3 songs together. The first song happened before I met him, through Cesar Comanche. Shout out to my homeboy Cesar Comanche. Justice League. So Cesar was doing a track, he invited me on it. It ended up being his lead vinyl single off ABB Records. That was a huge look. It was called Up and Down. So when I met Ninth Wonder, I was like, dude, I'm on vinyl with you, up and down, Cesar Comanche. And he's like, word, you're dope, you can rap. And like 2 days later, he sent me tracks. And we recorded everything. And then, years later, I was in New York collecting material for the setup. And I got some more 90s tracks, and we did the track with Ms. Davis, Kimmy Davis, and Torre called Nowhere No More. So everything was really organic, and that's how it worked. And, you know, it's just one of those things, right place, right time, and they're like, here you go. The dope thing about Ninth is that he just gives beats to people that he feels. So I guess by him giving me beats, I was him co-signing.